Another huge week in netball, and we've made it to episode 5 of the Backcourt. Hannah Kuha, my name, Matt Fatia beside me. Matt, I feel like we need a party that we've made it to episode 5.
Oh, well, you're obviously more of a party thrower than I am. I like to see myself as a party goer. I don't like the stress of having to throw a party, but it's good. 5 episodes in. Did I think we'd get here? No, but nonetheless, we're here.
I feel like we say this every week. There's been a huge party in our DMs though, so I want to go off the top. Thank you for all of the love. Please keep messaging us, Instagram, TikTok, backcourt_pod. Also slide into our emails, backcourtdms@gmail.com. Someone who has done that is Rose. She's DM'd us about her weekend in netball. Do you know what happened to Rose?
I do know what happened to Rose because I have access to the Instagram account, but go on for the rest of us.
Rose, she rolled her ankle, her teammate rolled her ankle, and then another teammate went off with the blood rule. So they had to play with 6, lost by 20. So not the best weekend for Rose.
No, 20 goals, and 20 goals is a massive margin in netball. But we've had some more DMs, of course. Darcy in the WA wheat belt, they played in 33-degree heat. She wouldn't reply and tell me whether they won or lost. Molly's from Adelaide. She played in 34 degrees. They got the win, and she jumped in the river for a quick recovery. Crab 145490 got sent off for reckless play. Didn't tell me what happened there, Crab.
Very crabby play, can I say?
And reckless is such a term that it could be anything from a stray elbow to some sort of expletive-driven rant. And, of course, it's a callback to episode 2 when we had a voice note from Meg.
Meg from Mildura, I remember.
Story about her dad that refused to pay entry for games despite having watched her for 10 or so years. She messaged us saying that Dad paid entry. He paid entry. So, obviously, we're already having the impact on the economic upheaval of Mildura. So, for the Milduran mayor, you're welcome. But that's great news for Meg.
I have to say, that's Meg from Mildura's story. I've just been thinking about how much it hurts me, so I'm so glad he's come around. Keep paying those local fees because that $5 goes to the Netball Association. It's a win-win for everyone.
Or in your case, it goes straight into your coffers, straight over the bar, straight to Kuha. But remember, if you are going to rate the pod, also chuck in a written review on Apple, on Spotify or YouTube. You know, that helps boost our morale, but also helps in the algorithm, and that's good for everyone.
Hate to jump ahead, but are you needing a morale boost after your lightning went down? I happen to note that you're not wearing the scarf today. Is this a bandwagon and you've jumped off already?
It's very hot in Melbourne today. That's probably why the scarf's not on. Never jumping off the bandwagon, you know, just a bump in the road for the bolts.
It's warm here, but it's no Darcy in Wheatbelt 33 degrees. Molly had to play in 34. I think, Matt, you're just jumping off the bandwagon, but we will get to that. It's a huge show ahead. We're going to talk about what caught our eye with putting multiple diamonds out of play, so a strong take, and the SSN split round preview. But before that, there was a bit of hate on the socials around my badges. I'm going to bring this up. This is self-indulgent.
You've had a big week of self-promotion. Your lead-off story last week was that you got best on once, and then
the J.R. Larry medal, yes.
Later that evening, or it might have been the next evening, my phone buzzes, and it's your mug staring at me from a badge.
See, this is why I knew I had to defend myself. Let me tell you a story. Story type with hands. So last week, had an awesome home match at Gippsland where I play. Can I say, we sold out this home match on a Wednesday night State League netball in 2 hours.
How big's the venue?
It is a beautiful boutique stadium. 2 hours we sold out.
You haven't given me a number here.
A couple of hundred, but
that's good.
But anyway, so I roll up to the match. Obviously, I can't play because of this bad boy, but I roll up and I'm going to join my team. And then one of the merchandise ladies stops me and says, "Oh, Hannah, have you seen your player badge?" I said, "Oh, no, I haven't." I go have a look. "Oh, that's me. Oh, cool. Like, good job. Love that we're getting around the merch." Then they hit me with the question, "Oh, so are you going to buy some?"
Well, someone has to.
I went, hang on a second. First thought was, obviously not. Why am I buying a badge for myself? I have to see my mug every day. I don't need to see it anymore.
But you bought them though, didn't you?
Well, then I thought, if they're asking me this, I think it means I need to buy them because I don't think they're selling. And so I asked, like, how many have you sold?
Well, 0 would be the answer, Hannah. I could have told you that a while off.
The answer was 1.
Oh, 1. Who bought one?
My teammate Katie bought one of every player in the team. She is the glue.
It poses a question to me. What shit merch has your club produced?
No, fantastic merch. I'm a big fan. But I just got nervous and I thought, well, how many badges do I now have to buy of myself? Is it up myself to buy a badge?
Well, you didn't have to buy 100. That was probably overs.
Well, they produced 10, they'd sold one, so I thought maybe half feels about right. It still gives people a chance to buy the HK badge.
And there was 200 people there. So you don't want to obviously supply and demand. You've actually been very smart. Yeah,
basic
price would have gone
economics.
through the roof.
So I said, oh, okay, how about I buy a few? And they said, oh, they're half price tonight, Hannah. Geez, how am I going?
How are they already half price?
Well,
what's going on out there?
So I said, oh, got a bit sweaty. I said, all right, give me 5 badges and we'll see how we go by the end of the night. I might have to buy myself out. So anyway, I come bearing many, many gifts.
I don't want.
Would you like a badge, Matt?
Well, not particularly, but after that run up, I'll take one.
If any of you want a badge, I'm thinking I need to get rid of these, right?
Producer Liv wants me to put it on.
I think you should.
What?
So you're actually laughing about who would want an HK badge. I've got to send some love. I put this after the backcourt put this on their Instagram. I had a message. First message came in from France, and I had a fan in France saying, "I'll buy badge."
Ruined this shirt, by the way. Go on.
Second place, Italy. Got a fan in Italy. So you know what? That's already 2 badges I'm going to send overseas for much greater than the cost of buying this badge, but means that there's 1 badge to give away to our listeners. I'm actually going to make a competition next week and the badge will be included in it.
We'll have entries coming in from everywhere.
You know why I brought that up?
Why?
For a lovely segue, thanking our beautiful listeners, people watching us on YouTube. We have had, I reckon, people from 8 different countries watching the backcourt. So I dare say maybe this 3rd badge is going international. France, Italy, to our fans in USA. Which other countries?
Nigeria,
maybe there's a badge for you. So anyway, just saying maybe more people are liking.
I can't believe we've done 8.5 minutes and half of it has been about your badges. This is ridiculous.
You just want double trouble.
No, well, let's move it on.
Okay, moving on. Let's get to the real stuff. What caught my eye? So, what's
Put
caught
your badges away. We know what caught your eye.
What's caught my 10 eyes? Many things. We'll start with you, Matt.
Right. So Sunday comes around. I had a couple of big ones Friday, Saturday, and it'd been a while off the bench, so I was feeling a bit sorry for myself. The darling wife had gone out to her Sunday morning Pilates, and that's when I just absorb all the sport I missed. And one of those things was the Swifts and the Mavericks. So we'll get into the actual game later on. I flicked on the mini, the KO mini. Shout out to our friends at KO. And they do the little run on, and they do a little bit of intro before they get into the action. And Kath Cox, your friend of mine, was doing the commentary. And Paige Hadley ran on court, and they said that Paige had just overtaken Liz Ellis for games played.
Equaled it on the
our
weekend.
overlord, Liz. Yep. And had jumped into second for most games played for the Swifts. But Kath then mentioned that it was her record and that she was going to kneecap Paige Hadley in the hallway at Ken Rosewall Arena.
Paige Hadley playing in her game 172 equals the record set by Liz Ellis for the second most games played for the New South Wales Swifts. Only one player with more games that Paige Hadley's now chasing. And I'm going to kneecap her in the hallway because it's my record.
I just think I could have put this in out of play, but it's not as strong as the one I've got coming up. I just thought Kath just caught my eye. That's a bit out of line. And sometimes Kath, she likes to toe the line with language. I wouldn't be out there on national TV saying you're going to kneecap one of Australia's favourite ever netballers, but that's what caught my eye.
See, I kind of loved it from Kath because it was unprompted. It wasn't another commentator feeding her.
Yeah, no,
it was
no
just
one said anything.
Straight down the barrel. She's offering that off the top. But I kind of like it. You know, she just wants to let everyone know who's top dog. And if you're not going to advocate for yourself, Kath, who will? So, no,
She's part of the netball mafia, but she's probably blown her cover there a little bit, Kath. But anyway, we move on.
Watch out, Paige Hadley's knees. Something that also caught my eye from Ken Rosewall Arena, these mops. I don't know what's going on with the Ken Rosewall flooring. It is, I have to say, one of the worst floors I have ever played on. I was blown away by the number of times the mops had to come out. It actually felt like preseason netball when you're trying to get stoppage all the time because you're a bit tired and you're like,
they might have been sweaty.
Can we just pretend that we need a mop so I can catch my breath? But we're into the season now. It was just a really sweaty floor. Patrick from Inner West Netball Association in New South Wales got more court time than Molly Jovic.
His brand has gone through the roof recently. He was on my Instagram doing backflips and shit this morning. I don't know what it has to do with mopping. Shimona took the mop off him. she was that fucking frustrated with how Patrick was going. She just said, give it here. So do you get paid for that?
No, he is a volunteer.
Right.
So shout out to the volunteers. He was probably doing more work than some of the players on the court. But what's the go with the floor? Do they get a new one in? Because that was atrocious.
I don't know the costings that would involve.
Anyway, Ken Rosewall Arena, things to think about. Speaking of just weird venue malfunctions, what on earth is going on in the NSL, the Super League 2.0 over in the UK at the moment?
Yeah, so obviously they've, as we've mentioned previously, they've also taken on the Super Shot, and that means they also take on, I think, the Power 5. I don't know. Some places are doing it different. And obviously here in Australia, we announced the Power 5 with what I would describe as an air raid siren. But in the UK, they've gone with lights off and a sort of disco vibe. And there's a clip that will come across here. So basically, I don't know who's playing, but I've seen this online. The Power 5's hit, they've got a centre pass and the lights just go off except for a couple of spotlights that sort of wander around. And it goes for 5 or 6 seconds and the players have to obviously play because they can't have the ball for more than 3 seconds. Just incredible. It's incredible that, again, this is like a bit like the Thunderbirds last week with their flag hanging. Someone somewhere has thought this would be a good idea and no one's just sat in the room and thought, hey, is this logical? Because it just seems a bit silly.
My mind was blown when I saw this. How, as a player, are you meant to play in the dark?
But yeah, it just caught my eye. So they're trying their best over there in the UK, but obviously still got some things to learn.
Look, I'm not going to disagree with you on that, Matt, but this is just astonishing. You can tell it was some marketing executive cooked up this idea without thinking of the ramifications. Like, as you said, held ball, how are you meant to find your players? How's the umpire meant to see what's going on?
I don't mind the idea, but maybe play stops. If you can do the lights off, play stops.
No, none of it. We've got to have the lights on. I feel like this is maybe a bit of a Grinch
take. It did look cool, other than the fact that they had to keep playing. There's
a reason why the SSN is the best league in the world, and it's because we keep our lights on for most of the time, trying our best.
Speaking of.
Something that's caught your eye, Matt, which I think is a huge conversation point. Taylor Williams put out some interesting work on social media this week.
It's a can of worms. Taylor Williams, TikTok, flicking through, she was referencing or she was answering the question, she must get a lot of them, about why she always wears ankle socks or short socks rather than the long sock, which is probably more popular amongst the netball community. And her argument was that she felt she plays in a team with obviously a lot of leg, Shamira and co, they've got quite long legs, and she feels like if she wears a shorter sock, it makes her leg look longer. She's obviously probably the shortest player in their team. Maybe Horges is shorter. But it just got me thinking that I don't think that's true. I think the optical illusion of the long sock actually makes it, and the illusion that your leg is longer than it is. I don't know what you do. I think it's an interesting debate.
It is an interesting one. I haven't thought so deeply about it. How I'm more of a practicality over looks gal. Probably doesn't surprise anybody here. But from a practicality point of view, I've always been a low sock, but...
What do you mean by low? So not short.
So these
that's
bad
a short
boys,
sock. That's what Taylor's running. That's short sock.
But also black. I'm a black shoes, black sock gal, which gets a lot of hate, but I stand by it. Uniform.
Netball's a bit like Wimbledon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think traditionally it's been a white sock, white shoe kind of market, but I love the aura of people who are pulling off the black shoe, and I just find it, again...
Is anyone pulling it off other than you?
I reckon you'd have one per team who rolls with the black shoe, black sock.
I'll have to keep an eye out. That'll have to catch my eye next time.
But I think it matches it doesn't matter which club you play for. If you're just going the black, it's fine. Because if you get a white shoe, it's like it might have a bit of pink and then you play for a blue team and then you might play for a team with a green dress. It's like at least black, it's just uniform.
Right. Short sock or long sock, we're going to put that out on socials. I think that could be a good debate. Maybe. I think the long sock makes your leg look longer.
Long sock for aesthetics, short socks for random people like me. Yeah, but play each their own. We'll put that out on socials, backcourt_pod. Something that caught my eye. So, of course, it's the Netball National Championships at the moment. There has been so much fanfare in Sydney. Something that caught my eye. Obviously, Annecy Lyon lighting it up in the under-19s for Victoria, a goaler. Her dad, Ross Lyon, has been in the press.
The boss.
Ross the boss. He used to coach at Freo. Now he's back at St Kilda. As a netball dad, you know, there's been a bit of media interest in their story.
There's another netball dad in there. Gil McLaughlin's daughter, running around for the Vics, I think in the 17s. So a bit of connection.
We love netball dads here, and I love the idea of Ross being a netball dad. Like, what do you think he'd be offering
Well, I don't think he's there because obviously they were in St Kilda were in Adelaide and then have come back, and I haven't seen any footage.
I think he has since flown.
Have you seen footage? Or
I've been told.
You've been told. Your sources are telling you. I think Ross would be the kind of guy who'd like to stay away. I think he'd understand that a lot of people would be looking for him to make comment, and he would sort of pull away and maybe just be sipping a coffee in the corner away from the other dads. I know my parents, when they watch sport, especially my father, would he actually, when he used to watch me play cricket, junior cricket, he would put they weren't AirPods in, headphones in with no music playing. They weren't plugged in, just so people wouldn't talk to him.
Love that move.
So I can imagine Ross doing that rather than sort of getting involved, because it would be a bad look for him to be going over the top of the coaches and stuff.
Well, I think Ross, he's always the mastermind. I actually think he's won up everyone's expectations. Maybe he's not offering netball-specific coaching or sports-specific coaching, but the Vic parents have been rolling out a chant, "Oh, when the Vics go marching in." Do you think Ross has brought that over from St Kilda?
I don't think so.
I thought it was hilarious. Maybe the other parents are trying to have a crack at Ross. Either way, absolutely loving it. Congratulations to all of the players who have suited up at the Netball National Championships. But maybe if we're not putting Ross and the Victorian parents out of play, we have some other people who are in some hot water.
What are things out of play? Think the bench are out of play.
The attack Poseidon away.
They need to start staying in place.
Think the bench, you're out of play.
Right, time for out of play. Matt, kick us off.
Yeah. So this one's one that's been, it really created a sense of deep guttural anger in me, this video.
I'm nervous.
This person. So look, it's bad timing for this person to go out of play because they've been on a bit of a media tour. So on the weekend, Australian champion and Melbourne Vixen champion Jo Weston played her 150th game of Australian Netball League or professional netball. She's obviously also been on tour promoting her book, which
Yes.
you've read, and we're going to hear from that in a couple of weeks' time. And she's one of the best ever played for the Vixens and the Diamonds, you could argue, right? So not doubting anything there. And recently she's been super active on the socials, promoting the book, as I mentioned, but also a lot of sponsored content. And she's got multiple partners, Jo. Nissan, Origin, I think she did something with the Victorian government. So she's posted a lot of those reels, the sponsored ones that don't have that sort of organic feel in the last 6 weeks, I'd say. But the last one's really got my goat going,
Oh, no.
right? And it's not the fact that, you know, if a partner was to pay me a certain amount of money to make a reel, whatever you want. You
Go
write
down
the
the
check.
barrel, buddy. Tell
Whatever people want, I'll do it. But I just saw with Jo one, so she did something as part of Origin, recharge at home. So she gets home from a day. She's in Diamonds kit, so I assume there's some sort of partnership there. Come home, she flicks on her phone for a bit, as we all do, just to sort of unwind, has a cup of coffee, and then she goes to make a bowl of pasta. Everyone loves pasta. What a
Lovely.
dish. Everyone can make it. Simple, beautiful,
Easy.
homey.
Can't bugger it up.
Exactly. Well, she has.
Oh.
She's absolutely fucking butchered it. My Italian ancestors, and there's a lot of them, would be rolling in their graves.
Oh, no.
So the pasta's there in the bowl without sauce.
So cooked.
Cooked
Plain.
pasta. She spoons the sauce out of the passata out of the jar. It can't be heated up. So it's just like pouring salsa onto her pasta. And then second, you don't do that. Like you don't put it on top afterwards.
Like a cheese garnish.
No, you don't. So I know emojis would have you believe, and maybe cartoons as you were growing up, you know, that you would get a plate of pasta and the sauce would be on top of it. But what actually happens, and what you're meant to do, is you cook the passata and sort of cooking it on the side. You cook the pasta. Once the pasta's done, you strain it and then combine it with the sauce so that the sauce absorbs into the pasta and it deepens the flavour. And yeah, look, love what Jo's brought to the game, but she's out of play for that. Now, and if she wants some tips on cooking pasta, I'm happy to give them to her. But it really, really angered me. And hopefully next time she'll be better.
Let me play devil's advocate here. Pasta still tastes the same, buddy.
Well, it doesn't though.
Bit of sauce,
No, it
bit of
doesn't.
pasta.
No, it hasn't. There's actually, because you need to cook it. It needs to combine so the flavour. Producer Liv's just sent me a message saying pasta has no rules. And it fucking does. Pasta has many rules, and that's one of them. It doesn't. It's just not how it's done. And the pasta, it would taste. If I gave you a pasta made that way, even let's say I heated it up rather than just cold out of the jar like Jo had done there. If I'd done it like that and then made you one properly, you'd be able to tell the difference.
Mate, she's the ambassador for this pasta.
No, she's not. She's the ambassador for Origin Energy as well. So they're not doing themselves any favours to the everyman.
Actually doing themselves a disservice. She
Exactly.
couldn't heat it up because I don't know where her
doesn't have any fucking energy. That's a good point too. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, Joe's out of play. Well done on the weekend for 150. But if from now on, I reckon order out if you're going to have pasta, Joe.
Joe Weston, you've been told. You've been served.
Producer
Cold
Liv
pasta.
just said she would have put the sauce in the microwave. That's even fucking worse. That's so annoying. Stop riling me up. You know it's getting my goat here.
I like this. Let's just keep pushing him, guys.
I'll throw the badges. There we go on. Into the arrow.
Did we mention that the Lightning, your tip for
We'll
premiership,
get to that.
undefeated,
No,
lost?
It's a marathon, not a sprint, mate. Come on. You've got someone else?
I do. So I'm actually putting the whole of netball's leadership. That's a broad bucket.
The whole of netball leadership.
I
Who are you talking about?
I haven't been able to put my finger on exactly the culprit. So maybe backcourt fam, you can help me out. But post-game huddles have been in the press this week. No longer at the end of an SSN match will the players of both sides congregate. No. Simply no from me. I have many issues with this. Firstly, such a beautiful feature of the netball sport. Why are we in a hurry? Enjoy the moments after the match to come together. It's a nice opportunity to meet up with your mates, have a chat with the player that you've just gone absolute hammer and tong at.
I agree. It shouldn't happen on court. I think it degrades from the sport. You want to tell everyone that it's basically a contact sport where you bust the gut for 60 minutes, go head to head with someone, and then we all crowd around and hip hip hooray. Nah.
No, I just think it's such a beautiful, like how many other sports are doing a beautiful feature of the post-match like this? I just don't think there are.
What's wrong with shaking hands? It's the same thing.
I think if we're going on this idea of, we're all besties off court and we see each other so frequently, why don't we throw out handshakes then?
But I've played sport against people I would think of as either friends or close acquaintances or something like that. And there are times where you don't want to talk to them as you're coming off the ground. You're quite frustrated with them for either their lack of ability or their too much ability or your own lack of ability.
Kath Cox, also on Fox Sports, so she told the back page that supposedly the netballers, they don't want to be seen doing what the juniors are doing on a Saturday morning. As a part of the backcourt family, I was personally offended by that, thinking, what is wrong with continuity from, why are we now hating on juniors at Saturdays?
They're not hating on juniors. The juniors should keep doing it.
And why shouldn't senior players also be partaking?
It's the most ridiculous fucking thing. There's two things there's multiple things that, as with this podcast goes, I realise I have a lot more bones to pick with netball.
Okay.
One is still that you turn up to the game fully dressed, ready to go. I find that strange. And two is this. It's ridiculous. Shake hands. You can have a conversation with the person. Like you shake hands, you're having a conversation and you're like, it's the joining together. It takes away from what you've just the juxtaposition of what's been happening and where the sport's going.
Do you reckon anyone's watched 60 minutes of almost bloodshed? That's how ferocious and intense netball is. And then they've said, that whole value of that match has been diminished now because we've
I also agree that I don't think it adds anything to the sport, the huddle.
Beg to differ there, Matt.
For people, we'll have to put this one out there. That was a heated argument.
Well, I'm going to put the people who supposedly had this idea, and Matt, you're both in. I reckon you're both in the sin bin for that one.
Well, I think I'm going to win because the players clearly wanted it, so we could call upon those.
I'll fight the players on this. Backcourt family, get around the discussion. Give us your thoughts. Slide in the DMs, backcourt_pod. But on the topic of SSN, let's have a chat about round 2 of action. So, huge weekend of netball, a lot of results to get through. Firebirds and Fever. Firebirds coming up trumps.
Yeah, 2 on the bounce for the Firebirds. I tipped it, you didn't. Obviously, we'll get back into that sort of horseplay later on. But more importantly, and I know it's very easy to do this, so well done the Firebirds. I'll do a quick positive of them because we're going to jump into the main story is the Fever being shit. So, Kiri Wills, swagger. I think I've said her name wrong too. On the commentary, they say it different. I think it's like the twang of the Kiwi accent.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of moments where I think Fever were making a bit of a play at it. She just gave the players the eyes. Like, just fucking come on here.
Kitty, you're saying.
Yeah.
Ooh,
right. And then
it.
she's got swagger. Like, post-game, win. Doesn't like walk over all nice and, oh, well done, well done. Like, fuck, she went over there like chest, shoulders back, chest out, wanted over to Dan, and her hand like swallowed his arm. That's how powerful of a handshake she gave him. And I'm sure she whispered something in his ear too, like along the lines of, yeah, better luck next time, champion. So well done, then. Yeah, Fever. If this was another sport that didn't do huddles post-game, we'd be talking about the Fever being in crisis. As we come to record, Captain Sandy, Sue Gordian, has walked away from the club, the general manager.
Who's Captain Sandy?
Have you ever watched Below Deck?
Oh.
So I actually told Sue last year that she looked like Captain Sandy. She said she's never watched Below Deck, but she has been told that previously. But no, Sue Gordian, I think, had already said she was going to step away, but seemed a bad time to announce it a couple of days after 0-2. So
she's jumping off the sinking ship.
She is. She's Captain Sandy. She's getting off the ship. That's smart captaincy. But yeah, if this was another sport, there'd be words like looming and amid. The Fever, it's a crisis over there.
Nah, I think it couldn't. If this is crisis, we are dealing with child's play. I reckon, given that Janelle Fowler-Nemard will be coming back into the fray, literally zero issues at Fever. It's like they've just had an extended summer holiday. They're throwing the bibs around. Dan on the weekend had to throw every attacking combination he had. None of them really stuck. But no one's stressed. Janelle will come back in. Then they'll go back to being the top of the ladder. We're making mountains out of molehills here. No issues at West Coast Fever.
But does it, like, it's just highlighted how reliant they have been on Janelle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I would say is probably not a sustainable model.
Well, I think she could play till the age of 60.
Yeah,
so
I understand that, but also things happen. So
yeah, maybe. I'd still, if I was one of the many Fever fans, I'm not jumping off that ship anytime soon.
Well, anyway, we can argue about the Fever being in crisis. They definitely are. They're 0-2. But Firebirds 2-0. First time ever they've been 2-0 in the Suncorp Super Netball. And post-game, and it's been a bit of controversy actually around this, but they were singing the song. And just a couple of things I noticed, again, this could have been in what caught my eye. So one, they were using, a lot of the teams use like the drum where you like slap a beat as you're singing the song.
Oh, yeah. So just to add a bit of vibes. I think the Mavericks like some shoes against the wall kind of energy.
They slap chairs. The Firebirds were clearly slapping like a recycling bin.
I love it.
Which is really, really like low-key amateur level stuff. And everyone's singing along. Mary Chollock didn't open her mouth once. It was not even attempting to mime the words.
So I have to admit, she caught my eye because her clapping was also just completely out. Like, at least if you're new to the franchise, I think we all understand you're a bit fresh to the lyrics, even though they were on a massive poster. Someone had clearly pre-prepared it. She wasn't reading.
They don't help, though, those posters, because everyone sings it at a different speed in your heads.
You'd think, though, if you're the one player who's new, just clap in time. But she was a bit everywhere.
Maybe everyone else was out of time.
Oh, the team now does revolve around Mary.
Exactly.
And so if she decides what's in time, she decides what's in time.
That's another trope, actually, the commentator. There's something about Mary that's been mentioned both weeks. Fox, you're on notice again. Let's get a bit more creative.
Did you know that Mary's 201 centimetres, though?
I did.
Anyway, Swifts and Mavericks. Oh, this was a great match.
It was. We've already mentioned the mop man and the lack of drainage at Ken Rosewall Arena. Helen Housby's still a gun.
Yep.
Swifts 2-0. Mavs did plenty right. I think they'd like won every major stat except for super shots. So I think Housby shot 5 and they shot 1 and they won, and the Swifts won by 6. So simple maths would say that that's the deciding factor.
I'd say it's even simpler. I'd say the Swifts came out firing. Mavs defensively, they were ill prepared. They played a zone and Verity Simmons could bomb it into Grace and they'd split the zone way too quickly. But then 6 minutes into the match, they realised this zone's not going to work. That was the 6-goal margin that we saw at the end of the match. So I actually think it's way simpler. To be fair, the Power 5 in the last quarter, the Swifts won comprehensively, but the Mavs won second and third quarter. I don't think it's as dramatic of a result as maybe what some pundits would say, that the Mavs are no chance.
I appreciate that you're probably correct, but I feel like your explanation was not simple.
I'm just saying first 6 minutes, last 5 minutes.
I understand what you're saying,
Mavericks
but it was
won the
just
rest.
you started by saying it's very simple, and then said something that went right over my head. But I think I understand what you're saying. That it was they did. That's what it was basically the start and the finish. And the rest of the game, those are pretty good. Couple of things you've got in here, and I also noticed it. That obviously Hutchie, we've mentioned in our debut episode how much SEN. Obviously Hutchie owns the Mavericks. They'll any sponsor wants to go to him, he'll figure it out in after. Sign the sponsor. Don't think about where it goes. Just sign the sponsor, and we'll figure it out after. So Tracy Neville and Nicole Richardson wearing Master Builders Association T-shirts under the blazer, but Tracy doesn't like the blazer, so she's just white tee, Master Builders across the front. I rate it. Who gives a shit?
Last week we were chatting about coaching uniforms. Does this go to the top of the 8 or bottom of the 8?
It's probably in the middle. When we get onto the Giants one, they were just wearing like that orange linen. You don't see enough orange linen. To be honest. And also, I know you don't like the Swifts black, but fuck, Dylan next hip looks fucking good in a black linen shirt, doesn't he?
I think Dylan would look good no matter what he's wearing, to be fair.
It's a decent sort of chassis he's working there, Dill. But yeah, it looks good in the black linen. Before the game, so the Mavs do a bit of airport content, and Molly Ovic running the sort of 2012 iPod. Was it a mini? Was it a nano? It wasn't a nano.
No, nano was the real pencil thin. That was the whole attraction.
It must have had a mini. And I had a look on, obviously, through the socials as well. A few of the songs she had on there, like Avril Lavigne, a couple others in there. So, no, it was a bit of skater boy stuff. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that Molly's – because that's what like culture is nowadays. It's rich people pretending they're poor. And I don't know if Molly is rich, but rolling out the old iPod gives off that.
You reckon that's poor? I reckon that was the biggest flex back in the day, having an iPod.
My point. But now, like that's culture, isn't it now? Like kids, and I say this as the 30-year-old, kids – it's a lot of rich kids that like to dress like they've got no money, like, you know, like their clothes are bought at the op shop even though they've paid a lot of money for them. And I think that having the old school iPod, that's what she's going for rather than listening like probably all of her teammates via their phone.
I reckon most of Molly's teammates probably weren't around in the era of iPods, as you're saying. They were too young for that. I actually think that Molly's on the probably
Mavs team would be around. They would have all been around for that era.
I still think there are some younger players. Say, take Jessie Grenvold, the 11th player, played a big role on the weekend. I don't know if she'd be an iPod.
No, she might have made in primary school.
Yeah.
She would have been aware of them.
Molly is she might be one of the older players, but she's trying to fit in with the youth being like,
sometimes
how cool is this?
You do like the safety of the headphone plugging in because there's nothing more embarrassing than like your AirPods or your headphones drop out and people can hear what you're listening to. So like I do appreciate that like there is something about, I probably should stop doing this motion, about the headphone jack.
I think it's only embarrassing if you're not listening to the Backcourt podcast. If that falls out and you're on a plane.
Can you get podcasts onto the old iPods?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I reckon all of the iPod listeners, Backcourt family, that's a Venn diagram, a lot of intersection in the middle. Shani Lambden also, speaking about lyrics. Yeah, she improved muchly from her round one, so well done, Shani.
Well, she went from round one where she was in the middle reading from the book, as you've referenced, and then in round two she was banging the drum leading the chorus. That's just like, she's obviously at home there. That's like, I think she's going to be a fan favourite. Just brings a lot of raw passion to the game, does Shani?
On court and off court, an absolute ripper. Speaking of ripper matches, Lightning and T-Birds. T-Birds, they're still pretty bloody good.
Yeah, they are looking pretty good there. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I will say that. I flicked this on halfway through the second quarter and the Lightning had a couple chances. A lot of people stepping. I don't know if that was like they decided to call it this week because it didn't look any different to what I usually watch. But Liz got called for stepping, Steph, Mahalia, Lisa. I'm just naming players now. But yeah, Shamira's pretty good.
Your takeaway?
Yeah, they kept saying, I don't know whether she was injured or she was crook. Like it was, you know, the Michael Jordan flu game?
Yep.
Where he has the flu and he takes the piss?
Yeah.
The way Shamira was wandering around, I think she had like the flu or something and she had like 11 gains where like she's fucked. And she's long socks, so the legs look like they're through the roof. Why do they keep taking Irvin off?
Okay, so this is netball chat from you. Please tell me more.
I'm just like confused. I don't know. She looked like she was doing good and then they took her off. I don't know.
Going to have to ask Belinda Reynolds maybe.
Is it the equivalent of like, you know, when a footballer kicks a goal and then they run off?
Oh, we're not running as frequent of an interchange bench situation.
But she was going all right late in the second quarter and then they rotated off. I don't know. If Belinda's listening.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in the Lightning defensive line, so you got to share a bit of love.
You?
But something that frustrated me about this match, Robert Irwin obviously has had a great week in the press, wheeling out his little bonds and snake number. Of course, he is a fella of the sunny coast himself. And I couldn't help but notice, I think it was around halftime, Fox Netball do a zoom in of a seat in the crowd that had been reserved for
Robert. It was on the Lightning socials too. They've saved him a super seat.
And he didn't turn up. Like SSN tickets
he's a busy man.
But the SSN, we are breaking attendance records every week. Everyone's dying for a ticket to the netball. And he's been so rude to not turn up. Like, sell that ticket and get a real fan in. We don't need these C-grade celebrities blowing in off the back of an underwear commercial.
C-grade is a bit harsh. on Robert
Come
because I
on.
would say after the Bonds advert,
B grade tops.
when you watched it, what were you thinking? Have you seen it?
I saw the pictures that came across.
Yeah.
I went, yeah, he's looking all right.
I think now he's probably in like top 5 Australian males worldwide. You've got the fella from Euphoria and Saltburn, Alordi, is that how you say it? Producer lives nodding ahead. Hugh Jackman's probably still up there. He might even be top 3. I'm running out of Australian males on the work. Kid Leroy, he's Australian, isn't he? He's dating Tate McRae. There you go. I'm getting nods. He's up there. I need 2. Rob Irwin's in the top 5 now after that.
Yeah. I mean, the first question is, do we need him at the netball?
Yes. Shirtless.
Do we need a seat for him? And
They're probably
especially
those seats, I know they're called super seats, but it looks like it's just a chair. So they might have just added an extra one.
and also why are we highlighting this on the broadcast? We don't need empty chairs being filmed.
Well, I think it's smart collaboration. Get on the man while he's running hot.
He's
His
not
stocks
there.
are only
We're not on
rising.
him.
He's the opposite of Wall Street. He's going up. Everything else is going down. I don't mind it. This is a callback to our debut episode again. We highlighted that Riley Batcheldor. I've had a lot of people tell me I say her name wrong. I apologise, Riley. That she was hiding who was DMing her.
Yes, I remember this.
Do you think Big Bobby that's who was operating in there?
Oh, so you
Could be
reckon?
a power couple on the Sunshine Coast.
Oh, well, watch this
Watch
space.
this space. I'm probably wrong, but
I'd say if this were true, I'd say, Riley, you can do a whole lot better girlfriend than a man who doesn't turn up to watch your netball game. I'm not impressed.
He's a man of demand.
No.
He'd have people in his thing.
We
Anyway.
need real fans in
I think
netball.
you've underappreciated the worldwide scale, the global reach that campaign got.
SSN is already the world's
It was
best
like when
netball
Nikki
league. We
Webster
don't.
grew up. Remember 2000 Olympics? And
Mm-hmm.
then like 20 years later, she did like a raunchy photo shoot or something. It was
Bit
probably
of a Zoo magazine.
Yeah, I think it might have been Zoo, and that's a bit like that because you remember Robbie Irwin is like followed Dad around and Bindi and him, and then I forgot about him for 15 years, and there he is, 8-pack Python.
I'll change my view if he actually turns up to the netball. For now, he's not there. We don't need him. Riley, you don't need him, girl. You are so beautiful. You deserve a man who turns up to support you in your netball, is all I'm going to say. Vixens
That's
and
our weekly segment of Hannah forgetting to turn her laptop off
sound
mute.
off. Sorry, I'll learn one day. Vixens and Giants, your buddy Westo's 150th,
Yes,
as you've
Westo,
said.
fueled by that fucking bland pasta. They got the win. She started in goalkeeper. Big celebration. It's an incredible achievement. Giants had 80 penalties. I don't know if that's a lot or not. Seems a high number.
It is. I can tell you the most in SSN is 95.
Right.
So we're
That's
pretty
the sort
close.
of nerd stuff you're into, is it?
Absolutely. It's how I spend my
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Go on.
witching hours.
Yeah.
No, not so. Yes, it is a lot.
Right. That's a bad thing then.
Not great. I know you love a flex. I was chatting to Lisa Alexander this morning
Yes.
about
Don't know
this
if that's
very
a flex,
number.
but carry on.
No, we were just talking about this number and what it means.
Well, it means there's one more than 79.
Very true. Good maths. I think it is too many. I think the Giants have a few different problems. However,
They looked all right.
no.
That
Beg to
you have,
differ.
I don't do as much digging as you do over there in the bunker or whatever you call it. But they lost the second quarter by like 11, and then the rest of the game they won it by 6. Bit of composure. They're all pretty young, besides Jamie Lee and Joe.
I think the Giants didn't play well, but the Vixens didn't look that much better for a team that's meant to be so super. I think they're starting to figure out that there's not as much depth to the Vixens lineup, or we haven't seen it yet. Let's compare to the quality of the Vixens and Giants match v the Swift. Which match was the Swifts and Mavericks? Like Swifts and Mavericks felt like the fastest match we'd seen maybe all SSN this year, and then you compare it to the Giants one. Yeah, a bit early, but. If you're not impressed by that outfit, then maybe this week's netball will catch your eye. Of course, split round, Mavs and Giants. Do you have some thoughts there?
Don't know about. I'll have some tips. I think you have to tip the Mavs. They've actually played all right both games. But the Giants, I wouldn't be surprised because I think they split the points last year. These two teams, like when they played each other, like 1-1. I think
Mavs were a different bunch back then.
But I'm a bit more optimistic after watching that Giants mini this morning, and that they're moving in the right direction. 15 bad minutes cost them a win there. I think they could have got the points. But Mavs.
But you are going Mavs.
Yeah.
Master Builders Association Mavs.
Yes.
Get on that.
Bostic. They had the Bostic defender of the match. Like it's ridiculous. They're like they'd be like the like V8 supercars or the NASCARs, just sponsors. Like that's what they'll end up.
Stickers
being like.
everywhere. Well, maybe their stickers will get them home. I am also on the Mavs for that one. Thunderbirds and Swifts.
I don't know whether to stick true to my season prediction that the Swifts will make the grand final or the Thunderbirds look pretty good. But I'm going to go the Swifts.
Oh, yeah. I'm hell-bent on the future of the T-Birds. I think they're obviously one of the best goalers in the world, the best defenders in the world. What a matchup that's going to be.
Well, you could argue it's two of the best goalers in the world, couldn't you?
Yes, very true. And that's even more reason why I think the T-Birds will come out on top.
Why?
Because I think their defenders are superior to any front end.
Sorry.
And then their front end is obviously so well developed. I think the Swifts, they're very, very good, and Verity Simmons coming back and playing more minutes has massively helped them. However, I think the Mavericks proved that they're still vulnerable to Swifts and they're not unbeatable. So I think the T-Birds
your eyes like rolled back into your head there. You like really got in a flow state talking netball there. Just talking about netball, your eyes like rolled back. You went into a real sort of flow state of like X's and O's there.
Thinking about the T-Birds does put me into another state. Yes.
Swifts. If people, that'll be our argument thing.
Yeah.
Swifties will win.
You're on the Swifts. All right, well, Backcourt fam, we need to hear your thoughts on that. Slide in the DMs, give us your season predictions, and also tell us what you're up to this weekend. Of course, in some religions, they'll be wishing you a happy Easter this weekend. I will leave you with a happy men's and mixed nationals weekend. I'm very excited. We're going to have to wrap this podcast up soon because I've got to go to... Yeah, I'm going to go to the State Netball Centre in Victoria and watch New South Wales and Victoria
mixed.
You've
got plenty going on.
Mix is such a great game, so I can't wait to see how that Nationals goes. But of course, if you're down there, say hello. Say hello in our DMs, backcourt_pod. And of course, rate and review what you're liking on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. We want those reviews.
Exactly. And, we'll see you after a chalky field weekend.
Oh, no, we're too lean for that. If netball did a themed Easter egg collection, I'd get around that.
I think if netball did anything, you'd get around that. But
not untrue. Definitely getting around the backcourt and all of the love. So we'll catch you in episode 6.